There's that famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ talks about this man who loses his camel and finds his camel after thinking that he's going to die in the desert. And he's so happy when he finds that camel with all of his belongings on it that he calls out to Allah, and in his happiness he stumbles and he says, Anta abdi wa ana rabbuk, you are my servant and I am your Lord, mixing it up out of min shiddati farahihi, because of how joyful he is in those moments. And the Prophet ﷺ saying, Allah is more pleased with the repentance of one of you than that man would be when he found his camel. What's particularly beautiful about that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see you in your brokenness when you're turning to Him. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see that brokenness in your dua, in your supplication, then how about when you're reciting the Quran? And for someone who converts to Islam, or someone who's not used to the recitation of the Quran, and they're hearing people recite the Quran beautifully with tajweed and no issues whatsoever, and they're seeing the reciters and people that have no issues grappling with the understanding, and they're thinking, that could never be me. But they're going to make the effort to learn, a little bit of Arabic, to work on their tajweed, to recite the Quran daily. They're going to come to the Quran halaqas, and when people go around and they recite, they're okay with being the ones that are going to stumble a bit and that, are going to take a little bit more time. They will let that humility take over instead of the arrogance, and they'll go with the process. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-Mahiru bil-Quran, ma'a al-kiram al-barara, that the one who has no issues reciting the Quran, the one who's proficient with the recitation of the Quran, is with the noble and righteous scribes from the angels. Those angels that Allah mentions, kiram and barara. What better do you want than that? The noble scribes for being a noble reciter of the Quran, someone who recites it fluidly, no issues whatsoever. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who recites the Quran and stumbles over it, وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ شَاقٍ, and struggles with it, has hardship, and learning the recitation, will have 2 times the reward of that person who is with kiram and barara. Their station and their reward will be double the one who recites fluently and with ease. That's an incredible hadith, because what it shows you is that the struggle itself is worship. And arrogance is a great barrier and hindrance to worship and bettering yourself in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is humbling, especially for someone who, knows how to read in another language and has had no issues learning and building themselves up in other ways. And here they are learning once again how to read, and there are people around and they have to humble themselves either to a teacher or to the people in the circle, but they're not going to let that get in the way of having that pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having that station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're willing to put aside their ego so that they could draw close to their Lord. And you can imagine if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who loves to see that humble servant who would be broken and mess up with their dua, how blessed it is and what type of station Allah would give to that person amongst the angels who is broken and reciting His words so that he can get closer to Him and become as fluid and proficient and fluent as the other one who is like a noble scribe. When you think of Jannah, Al-Jannah,
Allah,
what does Jannah mean to you?
Allah, pleasure,
destination, forever.
I guess just kind of getting anything you've ever wanted. It's a place without worry, without fear, without anxiety. Comfort maybe comes to mind.
I imagine everyone being with Nur, and everything is being with light and Nur.
Eternal happiness, no stress, no tiredness, no achy body, just pure happiness.